Hi, welcome to another episode of the African Time. My name is Vidashi. Well, recently, the ZIM Human Rights Commission actually came out saying this, and it says, it says, one of the South African side there needs to be understanding that during the struggle for South Africa, countries including Zimbabwe hosted South Africans. Zimbabwe's human rights chairperson, or JC Majelmi. Well, we'll see this.
But also on the South African side, I think there's also need for, in my very respectful view, increased understanding of sometimes the needs of people and the needs of nations at different times. I want to go as far as to say that possibly also during the struggle for South Africa's independence, a lot of African countries, including Zimbabwe, hosted South Africans who were there, not of their own making, and so. That humanity, that Ubuntu, that we Africans have, I think should continue to pervade and lead such discussions and such actions, because at the end of the day, we really are one people. There might be issues here, issues there, but it does not detract from our human and, let me say, African dignity. And we must, of course, find these solutions and these conflicts.
Okay, so that is JC Majelmi. Zimbabwe's Human Rights Commission chairperson, actually out there saying and stating the fact that during the struggle for South Africa, Zimbabwe is lended a hand, and she is saying and believing that Zimbabwe should actually, South Africans should actually look humans first, or humanity first, before anything else. This all came about when recent attacks on illegal foreigners on assessing public healthcare in South Africa, and then the Human Rights Commission in Zimbabwe are trying to have a talks and negotiations in South Africa concerning the issue. Although the PPP, that is the public protector, have actually come out disclaiming any news or any counter dialogue between the Zimbabwe's human rights and then the South African PP. Okay, so basically things are going that way, but she is actually trying to play the cards of humanitarian on South Africa, saying that it's about time South Africans behave or accept humanitarian first before anything else. Okay, so but that is what she was saying though. But when this was shared, some South Africans were not happy. This one came and says helping someone doesn't mean they owe you anything. The Zimbabwean government is busy looting funds meant to help ordinary citizens. Okay, so this is actually Zimbabwean though. Man is saying that, well, helping someone doesn't mean they owe you anything. The Zimbabwean government is where they should actually direct their human rights questions to, because he believes that they are busy looting the funds meant to help the citizens. Okay, well, again, this one is saying that hosted rich South Africans. We never sent those freedom fighters that side. Real freedom fighters were in the country fighting from within. Okay, well, that's South African. Again, this one is saying Zimbabwe that didn't host 5 million South Africans. They didn't give free access to education and public health care to 5 million South Africans. They didn't provide employment to 5 million South Africans. They didn't imprison thousands of South African criminals, murderers and undocumented. Well, man is actually making a claim here and saying that, well, if in case Zimbabwe were lending a hand to South African freedom fighters, man is saying that, well, were there even about 5 million of them? Did they even give free access to healthcare and public education to these freedom fighters? Did they even provide them with employment, about 5 million of them? Did they even imprison thousands of them, of which were undocumented? Man is asking that question too. So he said that, are we denying the fact that this topic you are discussing, not just illegal Zimbabweans, but rather illegal ones? Are we denying the fact that there's laws abiding in every country? Well, that is what man is actually trying to say. Well, again, man is saying that Zimbabwean struggles are created by greedy politicians. The Human Rights Commission must rather focus on lobbying ANC not to support ZIM hospitals and clinics are there in Zimbabwe. But politicians are looting, yes, ANC comrades are supporting it and Zindo. Well, man is saying that, well, Zimbabwe's struggle is right now with the greedy politicians, and he's saying that these guys are really running the Zimbabwe down. And he's saying that the Human Rights Commission in Zimbabwe should actually make it a mandate to actually targeting their president and their government for better access of these kind of things for the human rights people, okay, or for the human rights of Zimbabweans. Good. And then lastly, man is saying that she is not confronting the Zimbabwean president about ZIM human rights. So this were kind of questions that South Africans were asking and believing that she is not being fair with them, and in order she's saying her mostly work is about the Zimbabwean citizens, and how about the ones in Zimbabwe that are now running to South Africa? If they are providing them a better service, I'm not sure that no one will cross the border to South Africa. These were some of the things from various African people to the Zimbabwean Human Rights Commission. You too, my friend, can share your point of view at the comment section, and let's see what you have for us. The name is Vitashi. Thank you for your time.